Hi, Fat Yogi friends. My name is Tiffany. I'm a fat yoga teacher trying to make yoga more accessible to everybody. So today is all about a gentle flow. We're going to be flowing very gently, very mindfully. So grab your mats and let's get started, and I'll let everybody in. Hi, friends.
Hello.
Hi. Good morning. Hello, hello. Welcome. How is everybody today? Hopefully good. Thumbs up. Okay, so we will begin on our backs. Today is going to be a very gentle, this is a fat gentle flow, so it'll be a very nice gentle flow. So if you want to just bend your knees and plant your feet onto the earth, just to kind of chillax. Good morning, good morning. Everybody looks so beautiful in their little cameras on. I appreciate you. Thank you. I love it when you guys have your cameras on. I mean, sometimes it's just not possible, but you know, when you can, I love it. All right, let's go ahead and just tap into the breath. So once you kind of get situated here, and I would say like layers are your friends. So if you need a blanket or like a sweatshirt, like grab that, make sure you're warm and cozy. Today was like the first day I woke up and it was like cold. And that's what happens here, like living in like the desert, essentially. It's like hot, 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 and then it's like freezing. Like there's no in between. So once we're here and we're on our backs, oh, let me just open up the room so if anybody else comes in. There we go. All right, so once we're here and we're on our backs, let's just take a moment to like take some deep breaths in. So deep inhale, open mouth exhale, let it all go. Deep inhale here, open mouth exhale. If it feels okay for you to extend your legs and be in a traditional Shavasana, then let's go there. If it doesn't and you need your knees bent, then stay here. So allowing your body to completely make contact with the mat here. Maybe starting with some thoughts about how your ankles feel and your toes, and just kind of scrunching and then releasing and letting them relax. And then moving up the body to the calves, giving them a little scrunch, wiggle, shake, shake, shakeroo, and then relax. And just slowly work your way up the body, allowing yourself to kind of check in all the spots and the places. And asking yourself, like, how does this feel? How does that feel? We don't do this very often. So taking the time and at the beginning of practice is always a good thing here. So take your time, check in, making sure when it's like the pelvic floor, we're touching the, not touching, we're squeezing, we're checking in and breathing. So maybe like with each breath, we take a deep breath, we squeeze, we release, just kind of letting ourselves see what's going on in our bodies. So this is just kind of deeply breathing. So no particular type of breath here. We're just kind of checking in. And just take your time. So if you've already kind of scanned your body, maybe you do a quick rescan. Moving up to your belly and just say, gosh, belly, I love you so much. Like, I can't contain myself. I love you so much. You're that amazing, my wonderful belly. I mean, your belly like digests your food for you and it holds in all your organs. And yet we have the audacity to judge it. But that's okay. We can forgive ourselves and just allow ourselves to also like be thankful for our bellies. So take some time here to just check in, feel within the body, and just breathe. There's not very many times in your life where you get this opportunity. So take this time to do that. Allow yourself. So, and speaking of being allowed, that's the intention for today. So I am allowed. I am allowed. So as you finish kind of scanning your body and feeling into the mat and being present here today, let's also begin to like think about that. So I am allowed. Has there been something in your life where maybe you weren't allowed to do something? It could have been in your job, it could have been at some place that didn't make sense. Like the people who told you you weren't allowed, like they might have had some sort of power situation, like they controlled what was going on. But is there something in your life where it's like, I'm allowed to wear this, I'm allowed to grow my body hair, I'm allowed to make choices about my life for myself? Like, these are the things that are within our bodies that we can be allowed to do on this earth. So let's tap into those feelings. Has there been somebody in your life who's ever kind of like judged you and you felt like you weren't allowed to do something? Like, well, I can't grow my hair on my body because my significant other doesn't like it. Is that really the case? So kind of tap into whatever you're feeling. And that's a specific example because somebody just talked to me about that recently. And I just was like, body hair is your own. Like, I couldn't believe it. So, if you want to do something in your own body that isn't hurting anybody else, you are allowed to do it. So, let's begin to seal our lips and breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, finding that ujjayi breath. So we breathe in and we count to 4, and then we breathe out and we count to 4. Finding the rhythm that feels really good here. Maybe it's 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. What rhythm feels the best for you? So this ujjayi breath, this breath of life, should feel really good. So begin to find it, find the pace that feels the best for you. And as we inhale, we think, I am. And then we exhale, think aloud. So, when was the last time you felt empowered? Like you were allowed, you knew you were allowed, and maybe it was something that you're not always allowed to do. Go for that thought. How does that feel? It's like the flip of a coin. You could either be like in a situation where for some reason you think somebody else's opinions matter more than your own, or you could trust your own opinion and do what you know you're allowed to do. So take some deep breaths here and feel both sides of that coin. So being allowed and not being allowed. Notice if you're like clenching your jaw, or maybe your forehead is wrinkled, or your shoulders are kind of like up by your ears. Try to relax everything. So relax your shoulders, relax your forehead, relax your jaw. Really try to settle here, be present. We'll be here for a few more breaths, just kind of tapping in, feeling into the body. So, with our eyes closed, just come back to center, come back to the present. Take both feet and flex so you kind of feel that intention in your calf. And this is if your knees are bent or not bent. If you feel like you need to keep your knees bent, here you can find a figure four. So plant your right foot, cross the ankle onto the knee, and find your figure four. And if your legs are extended, extend that right leg and maybe bring it a little bit into the center and cross the left leg on top of the right. And now we can kind of help that right leg over to the left, and maybe we reach our arms up and we find a little side bend. This is very gentle, very slight. Wherever you're at is good. You're stretching your hips, you're feeling into your body. On that next exhale, go ahead and release wherever you're at. So figure four or the side bend. Go ahead and set yourself up for figure four on the other side. So plant that left foot, cross at the ankle and the knee. So finding that figure four on the left. And then you can also extend that left leg if your legs are on the mat, and then cross the right leg on top, helping it over to the right. And then your arms extend, and maybe you find a little bit of a side stretch here. Take some deep breaths. Allow yourself to just kind of sink in. And then on that next exhale, come back to center. Plant your feet down if you went there for figure four, or we've come back to corpse pose. This time, corpse pose turns into with cactus arms. So arms are bent at the elbow and shoulders are away from ears. You can do this with knees bent or legs extended. Both are good options. So take some deep breaths here. Tap back into that intention. I am allowed. I'm allowed to be in whatever position feels good in my body today. And sometimes, like, you need to give yourself permission for things. Like, you just do things the way that they've always been done and you don't question anything. But, like, I love the fact that my son, who's 6, questions everything. Yes, it's annoying, but sometimes I like think to myself and go, why is it like that? Like that type of curiosity, I feel like is so valuable. Like we lose it as adults, and it's such a it's such a gift. And so like even though sometimes it's annoying, it's like he's like, "Why am I not allowed to do that?" It's like, "'Cause I said." But then other times I'm like, "Well, I don't know, but how about we just do it now anyways, you know?" So let's just take a moment and just kind of fill our mind with like whatever curious things that have come up for you. Like, why is it like that in my mind? Why do I put these limits on myself? And then if your legs are extended, go ahead and bend them. Place your feet onto the mat. Adjust your low back wherever you need. And let's just allow those knees to rock side to side, finding a little bit of a back alignment here. Elbows are still bent. And then on that next exhale, both feet come to the outside edges of the mat and the knees just rock in gently. So finding a nice little hip stretch after that side stretch. And just breathe here. Tap into whatever you're feeling. Allow yourself to bring some really, really nice positive feelings about this. And then option to stay here, or you could bring the soles of the feet together and knees open wide and you find reclined butterfly. So hands are still above your head and feeling that nice hip stretch on the other side of your hips. Both stretches stretch the hip, both positions stretch the hips. So wherever you're at is good. So even if you stayed in that first position for whatever reason, you might even went to the butterfly and then went, my back says no. That's okay. So let's just be in whatever position we need to be right now, allowing ourselves to just kind of sink into it. On that next inhale, we bring both knees up to the chest and grab behind the knee and just gently rock side to side, finding a nice little low back massage. Then plant your feet onto the ground. Extend our right leg. Left knee comes into the chest. We grab behind the left knee and help it over to the right, finding supine twists. Take a deep breath here. Maybe we lift the knee a little bit and then exhale. We find a little bit more depth to the twist. The goal here is to keep that left shoulder onto the ground, and the twist is all happening in the spine. So we're not trying to get that knee to the ground. It's nice if it happens. That means you might have a really flexible back. But like for me, I probably have a good 18 inches between my knee and the floor. So just try to keep that chest open. An option to look up to the sky or to look over that left shoulder. I like to look to the sky just because sometimes my neck doesn't feel like twisting in that way. Then on that next exhale, bring that left hip all the way back down. Make it a really slow, mindful movement. And then both feet plant onto the ground. We lift up our hips, move them to the right. Extend the left leg. Right knee comes into the chest. We grab behind the right knee and help it over to the left, finding supine twist other side. We extend that right arm, taking a deep inhale, and then exhale, finding that twist. So just Breathing here, twisting, maybe our leg lifts a little bit or lowers, keeping that right shoulder onto the ground. Maybe we're gripping the back of the knee still, or maybe we just are allowing it to kind of float and finding wherever it needs to be. Sometimes I like to bend my left knee a little bit too, to just kind of give it leverage. Find whatever twist your body would like to make here. And then on that next exhale, right hip comes down, and this is a very slow, mindful movement. And both feet come to the mat, and we lift the hips and come back to center. Realign your hands, so maybe you find that cactus shape again. Rock your knees side to side, allowing for a little bit of that low back alignment. This should feel really good. And then let's go ahead and roll over onto the belly. So, oh, I got a little dizzy. So go slow here. Don't go fast like me. Roll over onto the belly and bring your forearms to the mat. Let's find a couple like sphinxes that are just kind of meant to just feel into that back. So bring your hands onto the mat. So forearms onto the mat. Think about elbows in line with shoulders. And then spread your hands and let's just point our toes, press them into the mat. And maybe we look up or lift our chin and find a little bit of this nice little back bend here. This should feel good. If you're feeling uncomfortable, you can always bring your hands a little bit more forward so the back bend isn't as much. So make the pose accessible for you. So whatever you need in this pose, be there, do it. And then let's find hug the bed pose. So let me just show you in case you've never done hug the bed pose with me. We cross over our elbows, so we will extend, bend, and cross. So this will be on our chest. So we get a nice shoulder stretch. So let's go ahead and extend our arm. Our right arm extends. We bend at the elbow and then cross over the chest. This left arm is still kind of bent, kind of almost like cuddling with the right arm. And then we lift up that left leg. So we find kind of a little twist in our back, our spine, and then we find this nice shoulder stretch. Our cheek can kind of land on our forearm or our hand, wherever it is good. And just take some deep breaths here. Allow yourself to kind of feel within the stretch. I just kind of adjusted my hips and I felt like 4 cracks in my back. So, you know, sometimes it doesn't feel like you're doing much, but your body just needs like that gentle little twisty alignment where you're like, oh, that's what she's talking about. So it's kind of like an internal rotation. So if you want to just kind of like move your hips a little and just kind of feel into your body, you never know, maybe it will feel good. And of course, if it doesn't, then just stay still and feel into that version. On that next exhale, go ahead and release. Come back to center. Let's find our Sphinx one more time. This time, just maybe like pushing into the elbows and really extending your neck. So it's like we're feeling that stretch in the back of our bodies. So that nice neck stretch. And then we lower down our chest, extend our left arm, bend at the elbow, and then cross over. Finding hug the bed pose, other side. We grip with our right hand, so finding that same cuddle position. And then our right knee comes up. So we're finding that little semi-twist on our back body as well. Our cheek kind of lands onto our forearm or maybe our wrist, wherever it is good. So I'm feeling a stretch along the back of my shoulders. My spine feels a little bit of a twist. My hips feel relaxed. Kind of just using gravity here to like stretch some of these little areas. On that next inhale, we come back up to center and let's just wiggle our bum just to kind of allow that low back to get a little bit of alignment. And then press your hands into the mat and lift up your chest and find a tabletop position. Spread your fingers and think about knees underneath your hips and wrists underneath your shoulders. Inhale, we allow the belly to drop and the chest and the head to lift. Exhale, we round the back, press into the hands, allow the chin to come to the chest, feeling a nice stretch on our shoulders. Inhale, we find our cow. Exhale, we find our cat. And just roll through whatever feels right here. So maybe it's, leaning back, or maybe it's leaning forward, or maybe like some wiggles, some like side bend wiggles. So you're like looking at our hips or trying to. Take a couple of deep breaths at your own pace here, finding whatever movement you'd like to be organic and feel good in your body. And then come back to center, push yourself all the way back up, and then get yourself set up for a seated posture. So if you have a bolster or blanket nearby, let's sit on that. If you don't, go grab one. I want your hips to be lifted a little bit. So we'll be in this seated posture for more than 10 minutes. And so don't want your legs to fall asleep. And when you lift up your hips, it just allows for better circulation on your legs. It's just a bit more comfortable. So let's go ahead and bring our hands to our knees. We can cross our legs or we can extend our legs. This is like whatever seated posture feels the best for you. And then let's just bring our shoulders away from our ears and then lift our chin, tuck our chin slightly, and just find this nice spinal alignment. So we close our eyes or have a soft gaze and tap back into that Ujjayi breath here in a seated pose. And we go back into I am allowed. I am allowed to practice yoga in a way that feels good in my body. It's kind of interesting when you start thinking about the things you're allowed to do versus not allowed to do. Like, obviously, for public sake, we don't streak naked in the streets. But like in a like moral sense, in a like political sense, in a spiritual, financial, like what are the things that you might have like these like beliefs about in a way where you're like, oh, can't do that, like your brain immediately thinks that. What are you allowed to do versus not allowed to do? Excuse me. All right, I think 2 is the number today. That came out of nowhere. Okay, so just tapping into I am allowed, feeling into your belief system, and maybe even questioning it, like, why am I allowed to do that versus not this? On that next inhale, just lift up your chest, allow those shoulders to come away from ears. And keeping the eyes closed or having a soft gaze, allow that right ear to come all the way down to the right shoulder, feeling a nice stretch on this left side. You can reach that left hand down to the ground, or the top of the hand can come to the base of the spine. Feeling into this stretch a little more deeply. You can also bring your right hand to your head in a gentle touch, just gently pressing into it, finding just a little bit more depth to the stretch if you need it. Sometimes we go to places where we're like, this is the peak pose, but then it's like, is it the peak for your body? Like, what does your body need? So go to the place that your body needs. Take some deep breaths here. And we'll be here for a couple of breaths because I jinxed myself. I woke up with a neck creak, a neck hurting neck. I even like spent time with my massager, not that kind, but you know, that Theragun thing. And I'm just like, why? I haven't had this type of pain in so long. So I'm blaming my husband because obviously it's his fault. Take some deep breaths, feel into the stretch. Finding that ujjayi breath. And you can begin to lift and lower your chin too if that feels good. And just remind yourself like this is a tool in your toolbox. Like if you wake up with a creaky neck, like this is the stretch you want to go for. I'll be doing this like 4 more times today. On that next exhale, go ahead and release. Come back to center very slowly because that's as fast as I can move. Take a deep breath. Let's just come to center and just breathe for a couple of deep breaths. Thinking about lifting up our chest, coming back into that comfortable alignment. And then left ear to left shoulder. And that right hand can come and reach down towards the ground, or the top of the hand can reach the base of the spine. And the left hand can gently come to the top of the hand or top of the head. So find the stretch that feels good here. We can lift and lower the chin, allowing ourselves to feel into this version of it. And then find that ujjayi breath if you lost it. This is a good time to rekindle that magic breath. And then on that next exhale, we come back to center, release our hands if we went there, and let's just take a couple of deep breaths here. Eyes are still closed or having that soft gaze. Go ahead and lift up your chest, and this time we take our right hand and bring it to the left side of our chin. So it's like fingertips, and we just press into the chin, helping our neck look over our right shoulder. So we're finding just this nice stretch along this part of our neck. So it's just a little bit of a different neck stretch. And the hand there is optional, so you don't have to press into it, but you can keep it there. And then just think about that left shoulder really sinking down. So you can reach with that left hand if you want to kind of take it a little deeper. On that next exhale, we release our hand, come back to center, take a deep inhale here. And then exhale, place that left hand onto the right chin and push it over to the left. So feeling that nice stretch on the other side. And this time we're looking over the left shoulder. Our head is lifted. So we should be feeling the stretch a little bit differently here. That next exhale, we release our hands and come back to center. And let's just find a couple of neck rolls. So dropping the neck down and moving in some circles. And these can be super duper slow or just whatever pace of breath you're going in. And make at least one, if not two circles in one direction. And then make sure you make at least one, maybe two or three circles in the opposite direction. When you're done, come back to center. Bring your hands to your knees and find a couple of deep breaths here. Inhale, both hands come up to the sky, keeping your eyes closed, or maybe we look up to the sky. Both are good options. And then exhale, we reach our hands out in front of us, chin comes to chest, and we find a gentle forward fold. We can inhale, lift the chest a little bit, and then exhale, we fold a little bit. Go ahead and walk your hands over to the left knee, like our hands are right in front of the left knee. And we reach my right hand over to the left, finding that nice stretch along the back side body. And then on that next exhale, we come back to center and walk the hands over to the right knee, reaching the left hand, kind of like hovering, feeling into the low back on the left side. On that next exhale, we come back to center and push ourselves all the way back up. We extend our legs out in front of us and just kind of give a wiggle. And then go ahead and readjust so that the opposite leg is in front. So if it was left in front of right, now it's right in front of left. Inhale, both arms come up. And exhale, we reach. Both hands come down, chin to chest, finding a nice stretch along our back bodies. As we inhale, we lift the chest, and exhale, we fold a little bit more. Tap back into that intention. I am allowed. I am allowed. I'm allowed to speak my mind. I'm allowed to have these feelings. I'm allowed to communicate in an effective way for me. On that next exhale, we push ourselves all the way back up. And let's extend our legs out in front of us again. And this time we flex our feet and point our toes. We could even like look at our feet just to kind of bring a little bit more mindfulness and maybe just notice like what we're stretching as we point our toes. Like, that feels good. Hopefully it feels good. And then just come to a relaxed posture with your feet. We lift our chest. Our legs are not wide, they're not narrow, they're just kind of in a comfortable position. We inhale, both arms come up, and exhale, we lean forward and find a nice forward fold. Tapping into the breath, allowing yourself to just like sink down. And here in this forward fold, you could even close your eyes and really kind of feel into what you're stretching. Think about it. Maybe we lean our chest forward and feel that hip stretch, or maybe we round our shoulders a little bit more and feel it into our back. So be mindful about what we're stretching, bring some intention, and just kind of focus on where you're feeling it. On that next exhale, we rise all the way back up and we take our legs wide. So here, I always need to like adjust back onto whatever I'm sitting on. So if you need to do that too, go ahead. And then I like to just find these little torso turns just to kind of sink my hips or my legs into my hips. And I flex my toes and lift my chest and maybe even look up. And then bring my hands directly in front of me and slowly lower my chest down, finding a nice forward fold. So here we think about what we're stretching. So it's like a lot of like inner thigh, kind of the groin area. We can flex our feet and really bring a little bit more stretch to the pose. And our hands are really here to just kind of give us leverage so we can sit in this almost like we're going down, like our chest is lowering, but we don't want to have to like engage the core the entire time. So we just kind of use our hands for the leverage so it kind of stays in one position. And this is versus extending your arms out in front of you, because yes, we could do that, but it would bring the stretch to that low back versus the hips. So we want to keep our focus on the hips. They usually need a little bit of extra help. We like to sit and walk and do the things that our bodies can do, but we forget to stretch. And especially when we wake up in the morning, our hips are always like, this is what we need. And they're like yelling at us, but we like, drink our coffee and head to work without even thinking about them sometimes. And then just take your time here, maybe close your eyes and find some deep breaths. We'll be here for another maybe 5 breaths. So spend this time just kind of feeling into this posture. If you're finding it to like difficult to breathe, or you're like, this is too hard, you can always lift your chest a little bit and be in a different version of the pose. It like takes the pose to a different level. So wherever you're at, if you're feeling like it's too difficult, then just rise up just a little bit. Or maybe you're like, I could go deeper, go a little bit further. You can explore by just like bending your elbows or maybe straightening your arms. So just take your time here and just like breathe. Maybe you close your eyes or have that soft gaze where you can just like really feel into the body. Let yourself feel into the posture. That next exhale, we go ahead and rise all the way back up, and we slowly allow our legs to come back together. We wiggle the knees, maybe wiggle the toes and the feet, just kind of allowing ourselves to like come back, move our body back into place. Like we can't exist with wide open legs 24/7, unfortunately. All right, let's go ahead and find our backs. So it can be that same position you found before, like knees bent, feet flat onto the earth, or it could be any other variation that we've done today. So wherever you're at is good. Go ahead and come onto the back and let's just feel our back body on the mat. If our knees are bent, you can gently rotate your hips and your knees to kind of feel into like a little spinal twist. If your legs are extended, you can just like wiggle your bum a little bit. So wherever you're at is good. If you'd like to take this to that broken warrior, you can plant your feet onto the earth and take your feet a little wider than the mat. And the knees come in, and then just notice how your hips feel on this version of the broken warrior compared to when we first started. Maybe your knees are knocking together a little more closely, or maybe your hips just feel better in this pose. And sometimes it's like a very slight difference, but usually you could feel a little bit of a difference in the body. And then on that next exhale, option to find that butterfly. If you went there before, maybe you try it again and see how the butterfly feels. Knees open wide, feet, soles of the feet to touch. And then let's choose a shavasana that feels really good for us. So maybe you stay in this reclined butterfly. Like this is the shavasana that makes you feel like you're an amazing rock star who has to, show off your shavasana skills. Or your rock star status only happens with a bolster under your knees, or maybe you need a pillow under your head or a blanket for your body. Like, let's find that shavasana move that feels like super duper amazing, where like everybody wants to emulate you because you're such a rock star in it. So find the pose that feels the best for you. And then once you find it, take a deep inhale, open mouth exhale, deep inhale here, open mouth exhale, two more times, deep inhale, open mouth exhale, last time on your own. And just notice how your body feels, how it's sinking into the mat. As you exhale, allowing yourself to just like melt here, really opening up. So either like allowing the fingers and the hands to like make more contact, allowing the feet to just kind of sink into the mat. You can feel that grippy texture a little bit more on your feet. So really letting yourself just kind of go here. And then that mat is just holding you up, being secure, so you trust that it's there and it's there for you. And reminding yourself that this is your shavasana. Like, you get to be here and be present and relax and be in shavasana for the next few minutes. And the thing you need to do is remove anything from your mind that isn't serving you. So it might be your task list, it might be your thoughts that came up in the I am allowed that aren't serving you. Let all those go, and let's be present and focus on clearing the mind. And if you need something to be focused on, maybe think about that amazing place where you can just be comfortable. You feel comfortable and safe. This might be on your couch, cuddled up to a book. It might be swimming in the ocean. It might be under a tree in the forest. Like, where is this place? And just try to see everything you can see, feel everything you can feel, touch whatever you can touch. Like, let's try to be as present in this place as we can for this Shavasana if you need a focus. And we'll spend the next few minutes in silence for your Shavasana. Tap back into the breath. Take a deep inhale and an exhale. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Circle out your wrists and ankles. And take both arms overhead for a full body stretch. Let it feel sweet. And then roll onto one side and find a comfortable seated posture. Bring your hands to your heart center. Tuck your chin and maybe close your eyes or have a soft gaze. And just thank yourself for showing up today and for being present in the practice. Amazing job. Bring your thumbs to your third eye. The divine light within me honors the divine light within each and every one of you. Namaste. Yay. Amazing job, friends. Thank you so much for practicing with me. That was awesome. I will see all of you hopefully soon. Bye. Oh, the baby. So cute.